What is up YouTube, it's Kingfisher745, and welcome to episode 2 of Breaking the Meta. In this epic new episode, we're going to break down the defensive team of Red Hulk and Pestilence Beast. We'll examine what makes this team tick, and ultimately what stops it from ticking. So with that being said, let's get right into our breakdown. Now we're going to begin by taking a look at Red Hulk, but if you're wondering why are the stats so low, this first fight is actually from old footage, so it's before the current armory items and even before the weather control device. But that's why I'm using it. I'll explain more after we get through our character breakdown. So right now, of course, we're looking at the Season 8 reward character Red Hulk. And let's just cut right to the chase. The reason why this character is being used isn't just because all of his abilities are fairly good. It's because of two things in particular. First, Red Hulk's Bulwark. You see, his Bulwark is a protect effect that protects from single target as well as area attacks. It reduces damage taken by 25%, and most importantly, it's going to drain health and stamina from attackers when attacked by non-psychic attacks. This drain can end up killing a team, especially if they're not careful. Then turning to his level 9, it's an AoE catastrophic attack that places radiation exposure and has a chance to afflict the enemies with a number of debuffs. Exhausted happens to be one of the worst, but really it doesn't even stop there. There's a number of little things that make this character that much greater on defense. I'm talking about things such as his attacks applying burning and pyrophoric whenever his heat reaches 40%. Oh, and that won't be a problem if you have his smoldering E-ISO, which causes him to begin the fight with 40% heat. Oh, and also remember that Bulwark? Well, your enemy's probably going to have the quick and powered ISO 8. That's going to make that protect effect a quick action. With all the pyrophoric procs, the debuffs, and his absorb energy, he can be a nightmare. But what keeps those debuffs on? Enter Beast, the Horseman of Pestilence. This character is the glue that holds this team together. And it's not that the Red Hulk doesn't hold his weight, but one of the reasons why that absorb energy and those debuffs work so well is because of two things that Pestilence Beast provides. First, the number one reason to use this costume is Paradise Lost. This suppresses most effects that prevent or remove debuffs from both allies and enemies. Then I'm not even going to lie, Heart of Darkness and Jekyll and Hyde are both extremely useful. But the other effect that helps cripple your enemies actually comes from the Mask of the Red Death. The ISO contagion that ends up becoming an outbreak really cuts down on most teams' offensive power. That's what really allows this team to outlast the opponents and finish them with absorb energy as well as damage over time effects. Yes, you can transfer the ISO contagion back before it turns into an outbreak, but sometimes that's easier said than done. And also, Faustian Bargain says, allies that have weakened, exposed, dizzy, slowed, burning, chilled, poisoned, or dark void have a 60% chance to apply those effects when they attack. So they're most likely going to transfer their debuffs right back onto your team. Then on top of weakening your team's attack, they usually have very high health and defense. So all of that together is why they can outlast their opponents while whittling down their health. Now, like most teams out there are many different ways to deal with these opponents. The reason I'm using this older battle is because this is the way I used to deal with them most of the time, especially before the weather control device. I would just use a beast of my own, but an infiltrator beast, and for example he could corner Red Hulk, as well as take advantage of many debuffs because of his level 9. So yes, Jekyll and Hyde exploits attrition, it exploits protection as well, then it places off balance, and cornered so removes and prevents protect effects. So then you no longer have to worry about Red Hulk protecting and absorbing your energy. Then you can even place the pressurized AISO on it, and that's going to help out Havoc with his Paragon Exploiter. Now the big time pain for this defensive team, believe it or not, even though he's a blaster and they have tacticians, it's going to be Havoc himself. Why is that? Well, because he has an AoE catastrophic attack that you can place the ionizing AISO on, causing it to give radiation exposure to your entire enemy team, and most importantly, it's going to exhaust them. Now the earlier you can use this the better, because oftentimes it's going to absolutely ruin your opponent's first turn. Red Hulk may not always do this, but when he uses Bulwark, that's going to be the end of his turn because he's exhausted. Beast most likely is going to use his Mask of the Red Death, and so he won't attack either. and the enemy agent usually has at least one quick action item. Oftentimes it was the signpost, so that's all he'll use. Having the enemies not attack on their first turn puts you on the road to a very easy victory, especially when you consider Havoc's going to probably one-shot someone on his next turn. And if he can't, then just go ahead and exhaust the enemies once again, all while placing radiation exposure after radiation exposure. In a way, you'll be trying to outdodge your opponents, and believe it or not, you can actually do it. Of course, part of the reason is because the AI isn't nearly as smart as a human player, and so if all else fails, just keep exhausting them, and then once you can use your Atom Smasher, it will almost certainly finish off a Red Hulk and Pestilence Beast team. Now in this second match, we are obviously in a more current battle, and we just used Anti-Venom's I Am the Cure. The enemy agent just used Fire Tornado, which should exhaust and place burning on our team. However, Anti-Venom placed a power on him, and so his actions no longer apply statuses. As you're about to see, our team is exhausted and burning free. So yes, depower is one incredible counter to this enemy team. And not only did we depower the enemy agent, we also got Red Hulk, whose Gamma Bomb is going to be laughable now. And we also placed a power on Pestilence Beast. Talk about shutting down this enemy team. They are as harmless as newborn kittens. And by the way, there are multiple ways to depower the enemies. Spiral and Fandral are just two other options. Then I also like to use the debilitating AISO on Hybrids level 6, and that's also going to place the power on a single target enemy. Now just watch this Gamma Bomb, its damage is not impressive at all. Without the debuffs, there's really no danger to it. Once again, after that attack, you see no debuffs on our entire team. And now I do believe my agent's turn is going to be the longest part of this fight by far. But hey, we got a bunch of debuffs coming back on the opponents, and thanks to Paradise Lost, there's nothing they can do about it. This is one of those cases where the Horseman of Pestilence is going to help us a lot more than he helps them. So if you can flip the tables like that, you're actually going to enjoy fighting this team. And that's kind of what our examples of Exhausted and Depower can do. But after this match, we're going to take a look and discuss some of the out-of-the-box ways to beat this team. So for those of you who wanted non-meta ways to beat meta teams, I am going to show one and discuss a few more. As far as our current match, after this Ex-Oblivion hit, we're going to begin destroying the opponents one by one. But first, Beast uses Mask of the Red Death, and that's the end of his turn. And Red Hulk's going to have a meltdown about it. But still, with Anti-Venom up, we're going to use a Crusade on the agent, and this easily finishes him off. We'll take a 50k crit any day. Then after that, I'm going to use Riot on Red Hulk, and we get another pretty impressive attack. With my heavy debuff set up on my agent, I unfortunately won't be able to knock out Beast by myself, but as soon as we make it back around to Anti-Venom, he'll easily take him down. Or actually, I think I'm going to let Hybrid have the honors. But first, let's go ahead and use a Light Fantastic, and we'll just give a little bit more security to our team, not that we need it. Next up, Beast's final turn. I have to admit, I really do wish we had the No Mercy here, especially since we have momentary advantage. But I was trying out the Ex-Oblivion by itself, which I know to be a great source of opportunist debuffs, and that's really all Anti-Venom and Hybrid need. Well, that and bleeds, and Bruiser Hybrid has plenty of that. Like I said, I am going to let him finish it, so we'll use our level 1 with Anti-Venom, and then a Riot from Hybrid. That's going to be it for our second match, and I don't know if I'd consider the team we were using meta, but you most certainly can't call this final team up that. That's right, it's Vision and Kitty Pryde. So this brings us to some of the outside-the-box thinking that you can use when facing Pestilence Beast and Red Hulk. First of all, Pestilence Beast and Red Hulk are not going to be able to hit you if you're phased. In fact, many of the meta defensive teams cannot and will not be able to hit you once you're phased. Sure, there are a lot of ways to beat it now, remove it, hit through it, but remember, many of the teams that are popular on defense are not going to be able to cut through it. And when you build teams, you build for the majority, not the minority. So really, who's set up for or who's thinking about phasing characters right now? Almost no one. Then against this team specifically, they're going to have tacticians. Red Hulk is always a tactician. Beast 9 times out of 10 is going to be a tactician as well. And then the agent nearly always followed suit, although you may face a few other types now, especially a potential bruiser. but by having an infiltrator or possibly multiple, you're going to gain combat reflexes, increasing your damage, making your attack stealthy, and giving you a counter. That is, until Beast places off balance on you. Still, a stealthy attack will allow you to get around Bulwark, and that's going to negate that absorb energy. That also points us to a few other options, like using a character with only stealthy attacks, such as Black Widow and Nightcrawler for example. I know those two aren't too popular right now, but I have had success against this team with Nightcrawler. Then you could go ultra offensive like you notice in my War Machine and Quicksilver video, Team Blinding Barrage. I'll place a link on the screen right now, and you can see how that team cut through these Red Hulk and Pestilence Beast defenses like butter. Finally, one last out-of-the-box method for dealing with this team, you can use Psychic Attackers. For example, by using Emma Frost, you can bypass the Protect, and you can place Psychic Tap on Beast. Other than him using Mask of the Red Death, he is always going to attack, at least for the first few rounds. So by causing him mental anguish, he will lose a huge amount of health once he hits. That will make knocking out Beast a lot easier, and once he's gone you can remove debuffs. That makes this team a cinch to beat. So there you have it, a multitude of ways to beat this very popular defensive team once and for all. And yes, there are even more ways out there, so if you want to share yours, please go ahead and do so in the comment section below. As for winning this match, we just want to stay phased for as long as possible, and hopefully we're able to counterattack. So after our Intangible Fist, we do get a collateral damage proc, and then the enemy agent's going to use the Deathly Freeze Ray. That's pretty unfortunate because it can incapacitate. However, we do get a Brawl counter, as well as a Physical Disruption, Sneak Attack, and I believe we're going to get a Shadow Kick. So that's obviously a lot of counters. But we were incapacitated on both my agent as well as Kitty Pryde's turn. Of course that's going to up the degree of difficulty on winning this battle, but we still have it well in hand. With Vision, I'm going to use his AoE that finishes off the enemy agent and takes Red Hulk down to 2,102 HP. I know I could rely on dots, but instead I'm just going to take them down one by one. So Kitty Pryde will knock out Red Hulk, and then with my agent we'll start with the Signpost. Then I'm going to use the Hailstorm, and this will apply bleeding to Pestilence Beast, not to mention Chilled and Winded. Then after that I'm going to use the Atom Smasher, and if this doesn't finish him, the dots will. But you can't say we didn't try to take him out before those damage over time effects. Believe it or not, the Atom Smasher is going to be close, but we do leave him alive with 457 HP. No matter, he had a bevy of dots, so we do win the match, and we prove that we can do it without using a meta team. That's going to be it for this second episode of Breaking the Meta, and I really hope it helps you out. I'd like to thank you all for watching and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, good luck and take care.